I think the world is going to be an incredible place in 10 years' time. In saying that, if you imagine where the world's at now, for us to get to a really idealistic state, that change is going to be challenging. So if we imagine a world that's really driven by people all living their best life and doing whatever they want to do with their life, bringing their talents to the surface and expressing that for the world, living in communities that are harmonious with each other, no need for random divisions and, judgments and belief systems or whatever, all these things that we see in the world at the moment, I imagine a world where none of those things are there.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Chillcast episode 6. Feels almost weird saying episode 6. But thank you so much for tuning in. Really excited for today. It's going to be a bit of a different one. Should be a little bit more fun or a little bit maybe more interactive because these are questions that you guys have sent. I'll get to explaining the video in a bit, but first of all, I'd like to thank all the support again. Every week it becomes more and more overwhelming and everyone's getting more involved now, which is amazing. If you haven't already, remember to like and subscribe. It really does help. We're still here with the Galaxy Lights. The voting results were actually 52 to 48% for the nano leaves. So this is the last week you're going to see this, so say goodbye. But yeah, besides that, today we've actually got a bit of a special video, a more interesting one, I think. These are actually questions that we actually polled on Instagram and we received from you guys. So we're going to be answering them. Just before we do, I just want to say we aren't any health or psychologists or anything like that. So it's not professional advice or anything. It's just two random people speaking about random things. A lot of it's going to be probably
Don't listen to random people on the internet.
yeah, pretty much. It's just going to be us, really having fun with the questions and sort of delving into them. But yes, I do have Sharnika here. You guys are all pretty familiar with him. So yes, all of his stuff will be down in the description as well. But let's get to it. How are you feeling?
Man. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
I reckon questions are just a good way of probing conversation. It's like a good instigator, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's good. Nice flow.
Yeah, I think we have
good questions.
really good questions and weird balance between them, right? That's what we've been talking about.
We were talking about how there's really deep contemplative questions and just ridiculous questions, and there's nothing in the middle. So we're going to go right down the rabbit hole and then just come right back up to something nonsensical and then back down again.
I'm super excited.
Yeah,
I think, and again, to everyone who sent the questions, we're going to keep it anonymous, just obviously for your privacy, and people probably don't want to know what questions you're asking anyway for some of them. But thank you guys so much for, obviously sending them in. Otherwise, we wouldn't have any questions. So, do you want to get started with one?
Let's kick it off. I'll field one to you to start with, Kavi. All right. This is not too bad, not too deep. Pretty good though.
Yeah.
How do you deal with people who might gossip behind your back?
Ooh, okay. This is an interesting one. For me personally, I don't care, but I guess there was a phase that I went through to get to that stage, right? So I guess I'll speak from my experience and how I got to that conclusion of not caring. I think it's really interesting because everyone has sort of their own way to dealing with gossip and caring about these things, right? I think a majority of it comes and starts from when you're going to school and you've got different friendship groups and all that kind of happens, right? For me, I feel again, I don't know, right, because it's behind my back, but I felt like I wasn't someone who was talked about too much behind my back, at least in a negative way. But I'm sure there was, right? As always, there will be, right? For me, it was mainly coming down to why do I care about what this person's saying behind me about my back? It shows more of their character rather than mine, right? So I think it depends. I feel like this is a bit of a difficult one to sort of navigate because if it's someone that's close to you or someone you consider close that's, talking this, talking gossip behind your back, I think then it becomes a little bit harder, right? For me, I was luckily blessed enough not to have that where usually I wouldn't really be close to the person. So in the end, I can just be okay, there's always, regardless of what I do, there's going to be people who hate or don't like what I do. I'm sure even for the podcast, right? There's probably people that think that, but that's fine. As in, I'm happy for them to have their opinions and for me to have mine, right? So I think there's that, but when it comes to more personal situations, I'm not really sure if the person asking had that in mind. I feel like it's almost, you have to work together to figure it out, like almost confronting it, right? I think it's a lot harder than it seems, but confronting, not the person, like not in like a harsh way or anything like that, more of just like understanding why or what's happening. Maybe there's something you can fix, right? Maybe you're seeing it out of like a different lens, but I think it's, maybe I'm rambling at the moment, but what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think I agree with a lot of what you've said. I feel like I've dealt with definitely my fair share of gossip. I think that comes with the package when you just like do things that are against the grain a little bit. But I really struggled with it for a long time. And I think it's because I was too like, I cared too much what people thought of me. And I believed too easily what someone else would tell me about myself. So there's like two things I've learned from that, which is don't care necessarily what people say. And two, figure out what you think about yourself. And that's the thing that matters, right? Because if someone says something about you and you don't believe it, then there's no issue, right? Because you're just like, okay, like you're calling me a liar and I know I don't lie. So you can think that and I'm not going to take that personally because I know it's not true.
Yeah.
But if you're getting triggered, maybe there is something in that for you to kind of explore, right? And that's like, there's definitely some truth to some of the gossip that I encountered, which I'm grateful for because it allowed me to like flesh that out. Yeah, so that's like the main thing. And that's probably the advice I'd give is like, try to detach from like the blame game and holding it against someone and just ask yourself, is there something valid in what's being said? And if there is, there's an opportunity there for you to grow. And if not, like you said, is it someone that matters to you? If not, just move on.
Yeah.
And if they are, then there's an opportunity for you to deepen whatever connection you have. So just work through that together.
100%.
So pretty much pretty similar to what you say.
It's pretty similar. I think I love the way you worded it as well. I think what you said there is really cool though, where there's always something to learn from it, right? As in, even if at the time, I feel like when we're sitting here and talking about it, it's a lot easier said than done.
Yeah.
Where it's like, if someone's talking shit about you, like the first natural reaction for you is to get triggered, right?
Yeah.
It's like a natural thing in life.
Yeah.
Like you're always going to start being defensive, right? But I think once, like get defensive and then be like, okay, why am I being triggered? Like this person called me fat. Am I actually fat? Like, fair enough. Then like they were just speaking facts, right? Like that's all it is. But if and again, if you don't like being called fat, then stop being fat, right? Like it's like a lot easier said than done. I feel like sitting here, it's easy to say that, but I think in terms of like getting triggered and going off that, I think you made like a great point where there's always like an opportunity to learn or like deepen your connection with someone. Just because they talk behind your back doesn't necessarily mean too much.
Yeah. I mean, the last thing I'd say on it is my mentality to it now is if I do find myself getting annoyed or upset or triggered, my principle is just be an example of what you don't want to see, if that makes sense. So say if I hear someone talking about someone else when they're not there and that upsets me, I'm just like, that's the universe reminding me that that's something I should never do. And that just helps me stand in my own truth more and just be an example of what I want to see, if that makes sense.
And sorry, that just actually did remind me of like another point. Well, I won't go too much deeper into this, but from the other end, right, as someone who has spoken behind people's back at like certain stages of my life, usually that person's more insecure about whatever they're talking about than you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Like 90% of the time, right? For them to need to bring something up about you while you're not there, it sort of speaks to their character and where they're at in life. And obviously you don't need to like call them out, be angry at them, but just when you come to think about it, it's like, it's kind of lame, right? Like when someone's talking behind your back and you're not there. So I feel like that's also like a pretty nice point.
Yeah, 100%. All right.
Too easy.
Some deep questions here. What will the world look like in 10 years' time?
Ooh. I feel like you would be more interested in starting this one off.
Yeah, like I could talk for days about this because I'm just like a serial optimist, right? And over the years, what I've sort of realized is you can be a delusional optimist or you can be a practical optimist. And that's like part of the journey I've gone on. And now I'm kind of like I'd like to think a practical optimist and a real idealist. So I think the world is going to be an incredible place in 10 years' time. In saying that, if you imagine where the world's at now, for us to get to a really idealistic state, that change is going to be challenging. So if we imagine a world that's really driven by people all living their best life and doing whatever they want to do with their life, bringing their talents to the surface and expressing that for the world, living in communities that are harmonious with each other, no need for random divisions and, judgments and belief systems or whatever, all these things that we see in the world at the moment, I imagine a world where none of those things are there. But that means we have to dismantle all the fear, all the judgment, all the division, all of that is there in the world at the moment. We have to work through that, right? And that's no easy task. So I think the journey there, that's going to be really challenging. And I think that's going to happen in the next 10 years. I'm not sure how it's going to take place, but
yeah, that's interesting. I feel like putting a time frame on it's pretty hard. Like, as in for me, to say something's going to happen even in 1 year, right? Like, who would have thought a lot of things happen within the span of a year? So I guess for me, it's more of a general answer in terms of what I see the future as, rather than specifically 10 years. I think I'm quite the same. I think hopefully, and again, we're just talking a bunch of shit, right? So it's all very theoretical. But hopefully it gets to a stage where, yeah, as you explained pretty much perfectly, right? People are doing what they enjoy. People, get rid of all these fears and judgment, right? And I think it's going to be breaking all the systems we've already built down and recreating them as a collective to sort of best suit it. And I think that process is going to be the hardest. So there's always someone that's not going to be happy, someone that's not impressed for some particular reason, right? So just figuring all of that out and getting to that stage, I really am excited for the tech side of the future as well.
Yeah, that'll be sick.
Yeah, it's going to be insane. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that such advanced things that make a lot of the things that would enjoy in life a lot easier, like traveling to family or a lot of things that will But I think hopefully AI doesn't take over in 10 years' time.
Yeah. I reckon it's if you feel into it a bit, it's time feels like it's speeding up right now, or your experience of time. I'm curious to hear what people think about it, but I feel like when I speak to a lot of people, they agree with this. Time feels like it's speeding up, which means our experience of it is becoming faster and faster. And it's there's more happening in shorter amounts of time, which is a weird sensation. And it's I feel like 2021 is just flown by, right?
Do you think that's because instead of, focusing and enjoying the tasks that we're doing individually, we're sort of on a timer? I feel like everyone's always looking for the next thing to do, right? So
I reckon that slows it down.
Doesn't it speed it up? I feel like it speeds it up.
I reckon if you're just in flow and you're just enjoying your life.
So that's
it's a blink of an eye.
I feel like people don't enjoy it as much. So I feel like for example, right, for a lot of people I work with, it will be they wake up, then they're oh, okay, now I have to go to work. Okay, now I have to take the children to this. Obviously, if you're enjoying every single part of that, I think that slows it down. But I feel like people are so focused on the next stage that they don't think about the current stage they're in or current.
Yeah, I see what
I feel like that speeds it up a little bit. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
I don't think we're going to get to it an answer. It's just
it's just random. Too easy. Next one.
Yeah. All right, let's go to some of the ones that came through for you.
Awesome.
What's the closest thing to real life magic?
This is a tough one.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
I think there's a lot of avenues to answer this.
There's literally 10 different parts you can go down.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for me, I think the most recent, I'll say, is a sensation of feeling building connections and feeling them genuinely. I feel like there have been so much times in the past few months, even specifically, right, where people will do things for me or I'll do things for people, and there's just like a showing of gratitude, right? Where for me, that moment of like appreciation, like between two people, just like so mutual, it's like it feels like amazing for me, right? Like for me, like it's like a sensation that I feel through my like body almost, right?
Yeah.
And it's like the peak of my happiness and excitement, I feel like almost. So in terms of that, I feel like real life magic is, in that sense, that's probably what I feel like it is.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's different avenues for different people, right?
Yeah, that's a cool answer. I was going to say, like, if I had to answer it in a very simple way, I would just say love. Love is, no one can explain it.
Yeah.
Not a single person on this planet can rationally explain love. So you can't understand it, but everyone experiences it. So that's magical, right? That's probably the simplest answer I could give. And then the other thing I was going to say is, like, if you define magic as something we don't understand yet seems to happen, if that's the definition we go by. And so because we can't understand it or use any sense of science to back it up, then it's like how deep do you want to go into that, right? It's like, I feel like some of the things I've seen in my life, they're all magical.
Yeah.
Like, it's like whether people believe me or not, like telepathy, I believe I've seen telekinesis, like weird synchronicities where I'm like thinking deeply about someone and then like 2 minutes later they call me, right? I'm like, how the fuck does that happen? Yeah. And it's like, that's not just like a one-off thing. Like, it happens pretty often. So it's like, there's things that we don't understand about life. And I think it's ignorant to assume that just because we don't understand it, it's not real. So that's probably the way I would look at it.
I think that's a great point. You said it perfectly. Yeah, it's awesome.
Good question, though.
Good question.
All right, let's bring it back to some reality. All right, this is a decent one for you, Cavi, because you're exploring this at the moment. I've got some inputs as well, but how do you best evaluate whether it's time to pivot in your career or even change your career altogether?
Yeah, this is an awesome question. It's actually the first question I got from like someone I don't specifically know, like who came through the podcast. So I'm really excited.
That's sick.
Yeah, it's really
That's
sick, right?
Yeah.
So shout out. But yeah, it's a great question. I think the last podcast speaks to it really well.
Yeah.
In terms of how you can evaluate
100%.
your life. It's something I learned a little bit more recently myself as well. But I think you sort of feel it, right? Like, I think when the time's right, you're like, even when I think you start contemplating it, you're almost there, right? Like the moment you're like, oh, I feel like I need a change in career, or like, should I change career? It's almost, you've like pretty much committed yourself to it, but you're not ready to take that step, right?
Yeah.
So if you're, contemplating that, that means you do want to do it. It's just there's probably some stuff blocking you from doing it, right? So I think last episode's a great episode, great episode to actually go back and look at where you can actually sort of focus on it and find what you need to do to get to what you need to do. But I think if I was giving more of a generic answer where you don't need to do too many tasks or anything like that, I feel like my best answer would be, if you feel like you need to change and you don't feel like you're fulfilled or happy from the work you're doing, I think that's the point where you should start looking to pivot your career.
Yeah.
Was there a second part of that question? I think
no, pretty much. Or change it altogether. It's the same thing.
Yeah, change it altogether. Yeah, I think that's where it becomes, right?
Yeah.
It's a hard step though. It's a very hard step.
I was going to say, it's like one thing to know and another thing to do.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you clarified that, because I reckon most people know when they know. Whether they're willing to look at it yet, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
Like for me last year, I was in a position where I was like, I want to shift the trajectory of my career. And I reckon I'd felt it for a long time, but I wasn't willing to look at that yet.
Yeah.
So it's kind of in the background in my subconscious. And then when it did, I couldn't avoid it anymore. I was like, shit, I've got to do something about this now.
Exactly.
But my sort of very quick framework for it would be the 7 fundamental and universal human needs. And if you don't have at least 4 of them being met in a workplace, that's usually a sign that you're deeply unfulfilled. So security and stability. If you don't feel safe and stable, if you don't feel a sense of connection to your colleagues, if you don't feel like the work you do is significant, if you don't feel valued by the people around you, your customers, your colleagues, for the work that you do, if you don't feel free to do things the way you want them to be done, if you don't feel like you're growing and evolving in the work that you're doing, and if you don't feel like the work is meaningful. So those are the 7 things. You generally need 4 of them to feel like this is enough. That's the research that's been done on it.
Yeah. And I guess for me, I'd just say go for it. Like,
Yeah.
you just gotta like trust that whatever happens is gonna happen.
Yeah.
And you sort of made the choice that you thought was correct and that you thought was right. So
100%.
everything will sort of work itself out. That's how I like
awesome,
to sort of think about it.
Don't second guess yourself.
Don't
Yeah.
second
If you
guess
feel it, just
just do it, right?
follow it. Yeah, 100%.
Again, I feel like everything we're saying is easier said than done.
Yeah.
So like we're not saying it's an easy thing, but I feel like that's sort of the best approach almost.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And it's like you can't really get it wrong.
Yeah.
It's like you're always going to look back and be grateful for whatever choice you made, and that's like a useful philosophy to carry with you when you're making a decision.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
All right, Cavi, this one's for you.
Yeah.
What's the biggest and strongest animal you could take on in a 1v1?
All right. I don't even know how to answer this question. 1v1.
I reckon you could take a gorilla on.
I don't even,
You're a bit of a gorilla yourself.
A bit, but I feel like they're pretty tough, man.
Bro,
I'll be scared, man. I'll actually be scared.
But I want to interject with a funny as fuck story.
Yeah.
When we were in Sri Lanka,
Yeah.
and we were going up to like, you were there as well,
Yeah,
right?
I feel like I remember this.
We were going up to this house on the top of a mountain, and it was my family and Cavi's family. And there was a huge dog that just like came running and barking. It was like a massive German Shepherd, right? And we were shitting bricks. We were just like, this thing's going to eat us. And Cavi at the time was like 7. And it's like barking, it's like howling. And then Cavi's like, "Ruff, ruff, ruff, ruff." just starts barking back at the dog. And the dog was so shocked. It stopped in its track, starts whimpering, tail goes down and runs away.
I offered the dog so hard.
Literally offered the dog.
That was hilarious. Like, dude, I'll never forget that. That was hilarious.
Yeah, that's like one of those memories that's just like etched into my mind.
Yeah. Isn't it funny that like they're more scared of us than like we are of them? That's like that's what I like always think about when I look back at that. That's hilarious. Oh, I think let's talk realistic though. I think a gorilla. I feel like I'd lose.
You lose to a gorilla? Okay.
I feel like I'd lose to a gorilla.
I was going to say a lion, but maybe I'm getting ahead of myself.
You get destroyed by a lion, man. I feel like it's really hard to like draw the line though. I feel like
I just think if a lion's running at me, I'll just give it a like a
like a 1-2.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
a 1-2. What's it gonna do? Like paw me?
It'll probably like bite your hand off, man.
Yeah, sure enough.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. It's actually like weirdly a tough question.
All right, let's see where we draw the line and say that's
Okay,
where it
okay.
starts getting questionable.
Okay, so I feel like I can take a dog.
Yep, done.
Yeah.
A deer?
Yeah, surely.
A
sure.
horse?
Yeah.
You can take a horse.
You reckon? I feel like what are they going to do though? Like they're going to run into you?
Dude, they're gonna kick you with their hooves, man.
Yeah, like it wouldn't be faster. It would be like a
Have you seen horses kick?
like when they get up and do it.
Yeah.
That's true. But like they leave themselves open.
Yeah.
You can like sweep the legs and get them. Just like animal cruelty. I think we might have to cut this out.
We gotta capture the dog part too. Dude, that was funny.
Yeah, that's funny. No, I'll keep it in. It's just all entertainment purposes.
All right, so horse is like debatable. That's
Okay,
where
so
we're like
that's where,
debating it.
Okay, yeah.
All right, so I reckon we have to go horse then.
I think a horse. Yeah. No chance. Elephant. Elephants are fat and slow though, but like they'll just go.
They'd smash us, man.
They'll whoop
They got too many
us.
tools at their disposal.
Yeah.
They got tusks and
that's
trunks and legs.
That's true.
Well, a kangaroo.
I'd smash a kangaroo. I've seen this video where this guy went into a punch on with a kangaroo.
You get fucked by a kangaroo. Have you seen them? You're gonna get messed up by a kangaroo, man. This guy's on steroids, man. I reckon let's leave it at a horse.
All right, we'll leave it at horse.
Horse. That's the number one answer.
All right. Some tips for self-accountability.
There's actually one I got, right? I'm I'm really curious to hear what you've got to say as well. I think for accountability, it's quite an interesting one. I think there's different areas we can go into.
Yeah.
For this one more specifically, it was around addiction.
Yep.
So just so we can get, so for example, addiction to like gaming or like addiction to smoking.
Yeah.
Like what's the, how do you hold yourself accountable and get over those things, right? And especially like when it comes to like something like smoking, the funny story that comes to mind is the Tony Robbins one of him making someone stop smoking, but obviously a very extreme example. There's a lot to go into in this one, but I think
it's a deep one.
Yeah, it's a deep one. For me personally, I think it depends on the person themselves, but for me personally, I feel like the people around me hold myself accountable more than I do. You obviously hold yourself accountable like subconsciously, but like I think people around you sort of set those tones for you, right?
Yeah.
So at least for me, I feel like I'm not specifically addicted to anything. I can get like addicted, but those people usually like tell me or warn me or something like that, right? So I think accountability is always better done externally, if you get what I mean. Like,
I kind of disagree, but I think they're both important.
Yeah. Go with what you say. I'm not a word what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've to be like transparent about it, I've struggled deeply with addiction throughout my life, and I've had serious issues with accountability, and I know what it's like to not be able to conquer it and be stuck in it and feel hopeless about it. And I also know what it's like to kind of like conquer it as well. And for me, I think what it came down to is for me, initially I had to hit rock bottom. And it was like, I just can't stay here, right? It's like, I'm here now and it's way too painful to stay here. So then I guess the question is like, do you have to hit rock bottom with an addiction? Like, let's say you're addicted to drugs. Do you have to like go off the rails to end that addiction and to hold yourself accountable? And I think with hindsight, I'd say no, because you can use the power of your mind. And I think this is where like the exercise I do for myself now and what I do for all my students is I kind of say, imagine you take a habit that you have that's probably not the best for you. And you imagine you just don't change it. And you think about all the aspects of your life that it's either affecting or it's preventing you from like really finding fulfillment or maximizing your potential, right? Let's say someone's really lazy and they really want to exercise with consistency, but they can't get themselves to do it. All right, fast forward that to a year now. You have not changed a single thing and you've kept that going for another year. How much weight have you put on? How many times have you, felt shame about how you look, right? Are you afraid of what people are going to think of you? How many times has that happened? And how do you feel now in a year's time? Now go 5, right? Your metabolism's slowing down. You've dealt with this for 5 years. Your self-esteem's like suffering. How does it feel? And really use the full brunt of your imagination, right? And then go 10, then go 20. It's like maybe you have a partner who's left you. Maybe you have kids who are ashamed to see you as a parent, whatever, right? Whatever you need to do and like fully feel that and then snap yourself out of it and just imagine you took one step today in the other direction and then you fast forward it that way. Yeah. And I think the power of being able to forecast just how differently your life could be based on one small decision you make today, that's like massive, yeah? And it's like there's this like sort of effect that's like it's the butterfly effect. Everyone would know that. It's like one decision makes the next decision more likely. Making the decision tomorrow to not hit the snooze button makes it easier for you to do it the next day. Whereas hitting it makes it more likely that you're going to hit it again the following day. And so there is this correlation that takes you in 2 completely different directions. Yeah. So for me, the most powerful thing I've found is to play that out. And then at the end of it, connect it to purpose as to why you want to go in whatever way you want to go.
That's awesome. I think that's clarified my point a little bit as well. So what I was trying to get at more so is that I think you need to connect it to something you truly care about and have a deep connection. I think it's something Mini said when he was here as well, right? A lot of his patients, he said, was usually they connected it to their parents or something like that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So in that sense, right? So say you're addicted to gaming, there's like ways you can go about it and see how it's impacting your parents or everything like that. I think it's pretty hard sometimes to do that, but I think, the exercise you sort of just described does that pretty well, right? Think a few years ahead, keep going, and you're eventually going to realize, oh, all right, well, this is really bad for me, right?
I mean, one thing I'd add to that is bringing your point into it. It will help if you can find someone you really trust to help you in that. Because you're going to have days where it's tough, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have days where you're going to slip up. Or maybe you want some flexibility in it. But either way, having someone there to work with makes a massive difference.
I think that's what it is for me, right? Like usually like the addictions I have aren't deep enough for me to need to go to like a personal level to get through it, if you get what I mean. Like usually it's something that like I can have a chat with someone and bounce it off, like bounce ideas off and sort of move on, right?
Yeah.
So I haven't had the deepest of addictions, in my opinion, but I think an exercise that's great, as I mentioned, is just like go talk to someone. Like that step of you even like verbalizing it with someone 100%. Is a huge step.
That's a massive thing. It's like why those things like Alcoholics Anonymous and stuff, they're really effective.
Yeah.
Just because you're putting yourself out there and you're actually speaking about it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like it's the biggest step, right? So like once you start talking about it, you want to fix it, right?
Yeah.
I think for the people, and even for whoever asked the question, I'm like really glad that you at least notice it.
Yeah.
And you've established it. That is incredible to me. Like as in that,
huge.
Yeah, like that you can even like say, okay, this is like an addiction, or like, and I want to get over it, right? That's like the first step, and insane. And in saying that, if you do actually have like issues, I know we might not be like that close to you or anything like that, reach out to us. Like you don't even need to know him, or you don't even need to know
100%.
me. We'll actually like hold you accountable and do whatever we can from our ends to help your life get a little bit easier. Like it's the least we can sort of do, right?
Yeah.
If someone ever reaches out to us, we usually try help if we can. So
I mean, even if you don't feel comfortable reaching out to us, I fully encourage it, by the way. But I think what I've realized is you'd be surprised how many people are there for you.
Yeah.
If you just ask. So don't feel ashamed or afraid to like just connect with someone you've known for a while. Like that they'll be there. Trust me.
Exactly. 100%. Couldn't agree more. Like just like from like everything we've gone through as like a family, there's going to be so many, like even when your brother passed away, right? Like people that I would not have ever imagined would like come and help us, right? I guess that's a very extreme situation, but like at the end of the day, like there's a whole community out there. Some people don't have as big of a community. That's fine. Like a couple of people, I'm sure.
It just takes one.
It takes one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, I feel like coming back to your point as well, though, right? You don't always need someone else. Like, I think truly overcoming like the addiction will always be a self task, right? Like, as in, just because someone else is holding you accountable doesn't mean you're going to succeed in whatever you're doing. Like, you need to actually get over it yourself.
Yeah, it's like you can walk that path, but others can walk alongside you.
Exactly.
All right.
Great question.
Yeah, awesome question. If you could teach everyone one thing, what would it be? Don't know my answer.
You know your answer?
Yeah.
All right, go for it.
Nothing. Not a single thing. Yeah, not a single thing. And the reason I would say that is it's like the more I live my life, the more I realize you're not here to teach anyone anything. You are just here, I'm just here to be a living example of someone who's trying their best to live their best life. Not for anyone else, but I'm just here living a life that's free, that's filled with integrity and joy, whatever, right? Whatever the qualities I happen to embody are, I'm doing my best to live by that. And if people are inspired by that, that's great. If people are disgusted by that, that's cool. But I don't want to ever take away from anyone's journey in living that life. It's like you have to figure that out. And that is the greatest journey you will ever go on, right? Ever. And I used to think like, I want to like teach all these people all these things. It's like, actually, no, I don't want to. Because that's taking away from them learning a lesson for themselves.
Yeah.
That's my belief.
Yeah. I think it's interesting you touched on that. So for me, if I could teach someone something, I'd probably choose like something like contentment, right? Where like, I just want everyone to see that whatever they've got is enough. And that,
Don't you reckon you being content is that?
yeah, so that's what I was going to touch on later, right? Like that's if I could teach something, but I don't think you can teach something like that. I wouldn't even want to teach something like that,
I was
right?
going to say, like you have to get there.
Yeah, you have to get there.
You have to like battle with it and
Yeah,
come
exactly.
to contentment. at the
Exactly.
end. Yeah.
So I think, yeah, so I guess like the answer would be more so nothing, but I think if we're trying to specifically make it out to like
if there's something that you enjoy seeing in other people, maybe.
Exactly, yeah, that would be like contentment. And yeah, I wouldn't say I want to teach it to anyone, but I love seeing it. So I think it's something I deeply appreciate. And yeah.
If you're phrasing it like that, what do I appreciate seeing in other people the most? A sense of purpose. That's what it's like you are being you and bringing yourself into the world. That's what I love to see in people.
Yeah. I think that's what they're sort of trying to ask out of that question.
Yeah. With that, what is your purpose? Oh no, that's a Jaffa.
It's going to be a while. I think I'll try to sum it up. I don't want to take too much. I think we can talk about this for like.
I'm not going to go into it too deep.
Yeah. We can go into it super deep because it's stuff we contemplate a lot, right? But I think my purpose is very, very simple, as complicated as I make it sound. It's just for me to be myself, right? Like I know that me being myself and doing what I do is my purpose and will always, that's literally all I need to do, right? Like whatever I do, whatever happens with me, I'm always doing the right thing in like whatever I'm meant to be doing. So that's my purpose. And I think I'm someone who doesn't like putting like a specific purpose out there. Like, for example, I want to be like a millionaire in like 5 years. Like that's not my purpose. Like I don't have like specific goals or purposes like that. So I think it gives me a bit of like a ceiling or restriction.
Yeah.
But I think, for me, it's being myself, being genuine, and that's all it is.
Good answer. I think I'd say it's like being me, and it's like I want to express what's in my heart into the different aspects of my life around me. It's like you can find yourself and not do anything with that, but you can also just allow it to just come into everything and embody it in everything that you do. So it's, I think there's like 3 journeys. One is trying to figure that out, then being content with that, and then realizing, why would I not share this with everything? It's like what I'm here to do. I'm here to share who I am in every single interaction I have with life.
Yeah.
And that is what everyone is doing. Everyone is just sharing who and what they are in every single interaction that ever happens on this planet.
Yeah.
So whether you know it or not, you're actually doing it. So you don't need to stress too much about it.
Yeah.
But it's cool to like kind of work through that a bit as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think we got to the same answer. It's almost like regardless of whatever you do, you, at the end of the day, you're doing it, right? Yeah. So I think that's what it is.
Yeah. Some nonsensical questions that I can't even ask.
Sorry?
Can I get a dick pic? All right, check your DMs. When is Shanika going to give me cute babies? I wonder who sent that.
I got 2 of those from 2 different girls.
Gonna cause some chaos, man.
Beautiful brown chocolate man. She sent it.
Oh god.
I'm probably going to be dead in a couple of hours.
All right, this is a pretty good one. Has a stranger ever made a lasting impression on you?
It's a great question. I think definitely yes. I think there's many, even ones that I don't know, which is something I always think about, right? Like, I feel like every interaction I've ever had has made me the person I am today.
Yeah.
Right? So definitely many. In terms of specific strangers, I wish I had like a specific story of like random acts of kindnesses or anything. But
I've got a few.
You've got a few?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some, but I feel like I can't think of any at the moment off the top of my head.
I mean, I feel like I'm really grateful that I feel like I've had a lot, but the ones I can remember, I somehow just like took the initiative to like not end it there. So like the first one that comes to mind was when I was in med. I was messaged by a guy who wanted me to tutor UMAT for him, and when I digged into it a little bit more, I found out this was like a law student. And I was like, what? How is a law student running a UMAT company?
Yeah.
And I just caught up with him for coffee one day, and he introduced me to the world of entrepreneurship. Right? I was like, what the? And back then, I didn't even know the word.
Yeah.
I knew no entrepreneurs. I knew no one who had not gone to uni. And that was the stimulus that made me take a gap year and eventually quit med.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm still like friends with him to this day, and like he will never know how grateful I am for that like tiny interaction.
Yeah.
Right?
Of course, yeah.
The other one was like when I met Stephen, and he's who I work with now at ShareTree. Like I met him at this random event where students were pitching business ideas. And when I heard him speak, I was like, this guy has figured out something about life that I want, whatever it is, I want to figure out what he's figured out.
It's actually Stephen in a nutshell.
Just his presence, the way he was speaking, sense of purpose, just like amazing, right? And I was like, fuck, like I cannot leave this event without like getting a business card and getting his phone number and email.
Yeah,
and I did that, right? So I'm grateful for that because now I'm connected with this guy.
Yeah.
And the other one on the other end of the spectrum was actually someone who was really struggling at this meditation event I went to. And I think he's going to watch this. I hope he knows that he's touched people. He was really struggling, and he had the courage to actually like express that. So it was a group meditation, and he started just like he was expressing how much pain he was in.
Yeah.
And to respect him, I won't go into too much about it, but I was amazed at the courage it would take to be as vulnerable as he was.
Yeah.
And it touched me, and it was like, whoa, like I did not know you could be that vulnerable with your challenges.
Yeah.
And that's the lesson he's taught me again and again and again and again. Like his ability to be honest and truthful about what he's going through. I've never met anyone who's embodying truth deeper than he is. And it's like, they were all strangers in each of those interactions, and they've taught me like amazing things about life.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, don't be dismissive of anyone you meet. Like you have no idea who's going to touch you.
100%. It's usually the ones that you think wouldn't.
Yeah.
Do.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. It always comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I had one at the top of my head, but I'm drawing complete blank, so no idea. But yeah, I think, as I said before, I think for me it's similar, right? There's like people that have been complete strangers, and they're usually the ones that leave like the biggest impression, right? Like if you see them doing a nice thing for someone else, or like for you, or anything, right? Just in general, it's such, it's like a very genuine thing because you're like not attached to it.
Yeah.
Which I feel like makes it so much better. So yeah, I think the answer is yes, I have been, but I can't put a specific.
Yeah.
I don't have any specific stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
do you have so many stories, man?
I don't know. I just feel like I'm always thinking about my stories. All right. I think we've covered a lot. So done. Can't do that one. This is a good question. Really interested in this one.
Okay.
How do you balance living with passion, living with purpose, and making a living?
Okay, Mr. Living with Purpose can start.
Look, honestly, I'm still figuring it out. So I can't I'm not going to claim to have like an objective answer and like a manual on how to do it. Some of the things I'm thinking, I mean, like one framework that I'll give, and then I'll talk about my own story of it, is like the ikigai concept. Is there's a Japanese island, Okinawa, and they live by the ikigai principle, and they have the longest life expectancy, health expectancy, and just general well-being is the highest in the world on that island. So Ikigai is basically the overlap of doing what you love, doing what you think the world needs, doing what you're good at, and doing what you can get paid for. Those are the four principles of it. So the overlap of that is purpose. And so that's a really good framework. It's easier said than done to bring that into reality. But I think it starts with really just exploring who you are and what you want to do. I think it's like self-inquiry is like the key to that. For me, I felt like I was going not fully aligned to a sense of purpose I had even like last year. And it was that feeling of discontentment and the feeling of I'm doing what I'm good at, I'm doing what I can get paid for, but it doesn't feel fulfilling and it doesn't feel right to me. And I was like, it's not enough. So I had to make that change. But I think you have to come to that first. And then you just have to figure out somewhere you can get paid for that for. And I think if you look hard enough, there usually is ways of doing it.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I mean, for me, like same, like it's obviously like a work in progress, right? I think, as I said before, like with purpose, I don't define it. So I think where you would go wrong or like something that would make it maybe extend that process is defining purpose or like what you think is your purpose. Because usually what you think is your purpose isn't your purpose. I feel like at least. So, obviously not defining and being very open would be the first step for me. And that's sort of the phase I'm in at the moment as well, right? And going with the feeling rather than the externals where like I'm earning this much, I'm earning that much, right? Like you like at a certain age we've been told that like earning higher is better, right? Like, get rid of those frameworks for yourself and be like, okay, well, do I really need this amount of money? Or
I mean, I'm just thinking practically about it because I definitely agree to a certain extent on that. But then I think at certain points in your life, objectively, like you got to have something that really sustains you and gives you a sense of stability to build a future from, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just saying that because that's like the place I feel like I'm at right now.
Yeah.
It's like, no, like I could not earn anything and I'd survive.
Yeah.
But I also want to do more than that with my life.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the place that maybe this question is coming from.
Okay, got you.
It's like I want to be passionate about what I do.
Okay.
And I want to, be fueled by a sense of purpose, but like, hey, I've got to pay the bills and I maybe I have a like mortgage to pay off or like I'm planning to have kids or have kids, right?
Yeah.
And how do you balance that?
Yeah,
it's a tough question.
That's very tough, yeah. I think there's certain ways of fulfilling specific purposes, like as in like you said, like if you have a family to sustain, right? I think there are times where you sort of have to start prioritizing almost. And I think it almost sucks to say that, right? But at certain stages in your life, there are going to be points where you're unhappy or a little bit stuck. But I think once you get through those phases, there's always like light at the end of the tunnel or something like that. I feel like. I mean, again, you might not, right? So I think it's a very tough question to sort of navigate again.
Yeah, it's
but
a really tough one.
I think, it's taking those small steps when you're able to. And, if you really do know like what, and you've sort of found what something you're passionate about and you do really want to do, maybe, start implementing that in your life slowly in different ways, right? It doesn't necessarily straight away have to be your job, right? Like you don't have to quit your job and become like a motivational speaker and try to earn a living off that. You might be just, starting a podcast or like small steps.
Yeah.
That can lead a big way.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I was thinking something similar to that.
Yeah.
I was thinking like change your like environment. So like find people who are living the way you want to be living.
Yeah.
I spend time around them. It's like there's an unquantifiable sort of effect environment has.
Yeah.
And we all know this, right? Like we all know that when you're in a certain environment with certain types of people, that rubs off on you. No matter what you try to do, it's going to have an effect on you. So if you're around people who you feel like are toxic or like not aligned to the type of integrity you want to live by or whatever, then shift it. Or just like catch up with someone who you maybe see on LinkedIn or Facebook who'd be willing to offer their time. And I think you'd be surprised. But that's what I did. That worked really well for me. It's like I would just kind of put myself out there and was willing to reach out to people I respected and aspired to, and just put that time in to connect with them.
Definitely. I think it's even amazing that we like get these kinds of questions, right? Because I love that the fact that people are thinking about these kinds of things. And like it's like stuff we consider and contemplate all the time. So I'm like really happy that people are
sick questions.
Yeah, asking these kinds of questions. Like it shows like how deep and like sort of people are thinking and
100%.
Like how much they care about what's happening, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like to even be weighing that up is a sick question.
Yeah, it's to be weighing that up. You're in a great place already. Like as in a way. Like
no, I get you.
Do you get what I mean?
Like, 100%.
Yeah, and I feel like for every question, like I'm so excited for like the next chapter of like that person's life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like you ask that question just before you change the trajectory of your life. That's what I think.
Exactly. I feel like the same thing, which is why it's like really exciting.
Yeah. All right, this is a complicated one. We can save that. Would you fight a chicken every day or fight an orangutan every time you got into a car?
What's with the animal abuse? What is going on? Those ones are from the same group, by the way, same group of guys. Something's going on in that group. Something's going on in that group that we need to talk about. Surely chicken, right?
Yeah, surely. Like I don't know how. I was thinking like, why would you fight an orangutan every time you got into your car? Dude, I get into my car like 4 times a day.
Struggle with life and death every time you get into your car. Surely you just go for a chicken.
Like, look, I hate to say it, but you can just like kick it or something.
Get some eggs out of it and cook it afterwards. Oh no!
Surely sniff that.
Oh god, no, but surely
that's a dumb question.
Yeah, that's a dumb one.
Look, I don't mind shit questions, but at least make them like challenging.
Yeah. It feels like
say like a lion every day or an orangutan every time you get in your car.
Then surely that would be orangutan.
You reckon?
Well, yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's a better question. At least we're thinking about it.
Yeah, like we're thinking all right, this one's... Cavi had no idea what this meant. Do you see a shift in performance metrics for organizations coming soon? So measured more by soft skills like human value and employee well-being over qualifications and hard skills.
Oh, okay. I think it was too long for me. I just
didn't read it.
Sorry, I didn't read it. It's a lot simpler than I thought. I think I'll weigh in on this one. I have like a very positive outlook on this just because I can sort of see the trajectory of a lot of companies at the moment. I would like to think that they're actually not stopping, right? I think qualifications and soft skills always do matter. Like in every role, they do matter to an extent.
Hard skills.
Hard skills, sorry. But I think it's being driven more towards connection-based and community-based and culture-based, right? I think the big word's culture. At least with the companies I'm seeing, I'm sure there are small startups that aren't like that, but a lot of the bigger ones have already started making this shift. Especially like even like companies like ANZ, which I work at, right? There's a big shift that's happened within the last couple of years that went from people that were like very, very qualified to, more specific teams that just get along and perform well together. Like the performance actually comes and improves when the workplace, like when people get along with each other and really like inspire each other almost, right? Again, though, I do think obviously a certain degree of qualifications might be necessary for some jobs.
Yeah.
But I think that balance is like starting to become more culture-based.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's like, it's just, if you don't believe that, you're wrong. Sorry to say, right? I have so much to say on it because like I work for an organization that their revenue model is to instill character and culture into organizations. So like we have to believe in that. That's what we do, right?
Yeah.
I think this, to start with, if anyone wants to look up the Dilts model, what it does is it breaks down layer by layer things like the actions that you take come from, the results that an organization gets comes from the actions that it takes. The actions that it takes comes from the capabilities of the people involved. The capabilities come from the values and the beliefs and the mindsets. What does that come from? Well, that comes from the sense of community, the character, and the sense of purpose and vision within that organization. It's like a really cool model.
Yeah.
And then it's like what you essentially realize is that performance is a product of people.
Yeah.
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 And like we have a model that we use at ShareTree called the 5 Ps. And any truly successful organization, you'll find these 5 Ps.
Yeah.
Any one that's failed, you won't find it, which is you start with purpose. That's the only thing that's going to align everyone.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're all like, oh, this is why we're doing it.
Yeah.
This is why we exist as an organization. And it brings people in, right?
Yeah.
It's like you stand behind what this organization is trying to achieve in the world. Then who does purpose unite? People, right? So when you have a really strong purpose, you actually attract the people who believe in that. And I think like ShareTree is a good example. Like I went there because I believe in what they stand for, right? Like I could have gone to another role, but I was like, no, I want to work here.
Yeah.
And then if you find the right people who are united by purpose, what you get is greater performance. Yeah, like performance comes from fulfilled people who are working together with a sense of community and culture to bring about collaborative goals. So performance improves, which leads to more profit. Profit is like the oil between the cogs. It's not the cogs. That's what people think it is, right? They think profit runs it. No, profit is what fuels what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is make sure you're not harming the planet, right? So that's the movement into the future. It's like, at least make sure you're not harming it. Ideally, make sure you're serving it.
Yeah.
But that's the 5 Ps.
That's a really great framework.
Yeah.
Never heard of it myself, to be honest.
Stephen came up with it.
He came up with it himself.
Yeah.
What a gun, man. That's too good. But yeah, I think that's a great point. I think the natural progression is towards culture-based companies.
Yeah, and you're just happier, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just like so obvious. When you're
100%.
happier, you want to put better work in.
Exactly. 100% right. Couldn't agree more. I think, is that all? Is there any more?
I mean, yeah, I think, yeah.
There were a lot of nonsense ones that we've skipped, but
yeah, that's pretty much it.
that's pretty much it.
Do you have anything else that you can think of that's a good one to talk about?
Not specifically, no. I feel like we've got a few big discussions that we've sort of like got in the back of our minds, but not.
Yeah, not for like 5 minute kind of chats.
Yeah. We'll do that in the next episode. I think this one's been pretty good.
No, it's been good.
Yeah, it's been a really fun episode. I actually think it's a lot more interactive, actually.
That's why I like it.
Yeah, it's actually really great. I think I might try to do one maybe like once a month, or we'll see the time frame.
Brings the viewers into it as well.
Yeah,
and they get to contribute.
Yeah, 100%. And I think while we're ending it as well, I'd just like to really shout out everyone. I think this process for me was to build almost a community through the podcast where everyone's sort of willing to not only help each other, but, like learn and also educate me and anyone, right? So I think that's sort of a process that is happening, and I think more and more people are getting involved, which is amazing. Example, like the poll results, all the questions that came in and just the feedback in general. So couldn't be happier. Thank everyone so much. Like it's beyond amazing. With that as well, there have been like a lot of requests for me to do like some smaller and shorter clips because long form isn't for everyone. So I'm actually going to start doing a daily video on YouTube, a clip, just maybe like one of the more important moments. And I'm also going to bring a shorter version of that across to the Reels as well, or like to Instagram in some way or form.
Yeah, that would be
maybe
awesome.
make like an IGTV series or like a Reels series.
Yeah.
And just once a day. I know it might be a little bit spammy for some people, but if you don't like it, just unfollow. But I think the things that I'll post will be really useful and like actually something that will be enjoyable to watch. So even if it's a daily watch for you, have a watch, comment, like it, like, just really interact with it, because
Yeah.
I think the best way for us to learn if like what we're saying is wrong as well is, but from you guys, right? Like, as in, we don't know
100%.
everything yet. Like, we're not experts, or like
Dude,
anyone.
we're just literally two brown dudes sitting on couches talking shit.
Exactly. Like, we're just saying the first thing that comes to our mind, right? Whereas there's so many unique views
100%.
that I like really would love to hear, right? So
I love getting humbled. So.
exactly. I've been proven wrong as well. So I think that's some news. And besides that, thank you guys all so much again. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Again, there'll probably be more of them. All of his stuff are down in the description again. All of my stuff down in the description. Pretty much just big thank you. I think these couple of weeks have been just a big, sort of shift in the podcast. Everyone can probably tell the quality has gone up as well. So it's all from the feedback and everything like that. So couldn't be happier. Thank you guys all so much. Hope you have a lovely week. Actually, we have a weekly takeaway.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, before I finish.
I
I think there were a couple we could do.
There's a couple we could do.
I like the accountability one, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good one. Maybe you give one from the questions we've gone through, and I'll give one.
Yeah, done. I think in terms of accountability, there's definitely different ways to approach it. I think really sit down and practice the exercise that Shanak was talking about, sort of see how it will impact your life and the trajectory it will take if you do continue it, and seek solutions to it. There's so many resources out there for everyone, for their specific needs, right? As I mentioned, we're really open. Reach out to us if you don't have anyone else. But seriously, just start the conversation with one of your friends or anyone in your life. Even if it's a parent. Your parents love you like the most out of everyone, right? Like if you have the confidence to speak that to your parents, go ahead. Like that will change your life, definitely. A friend might change your life. Speaking to your parents will definitely change your life. So go through it. It might be scary, but like I'm so excited for the progression that's going to happen for a lot of people doing that. I think that's my weekly takeaway.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah.
I might give one not about accountability, but like pursuing purpose alongside like your other obligations in life. I like that question. I think I'd say like make it a point to like find someone you can connect with on a one-on-one basis and like show the vulnerability to like reach out to them. That's what I would recommend. It's like if there's like been a handful of moments that have really changed my life, and it's just like taking that punt. And I think what I've always been surprised by is like people are very open. You know, so I thought, why would this person ever respond to me? And actually, like now they're like one of my best friends, right? So that's what I would say. Like go outside of your comfort zone a little bit and see if you can expand the people you're connected with, not just because you're comfortable with who you're around, but because you might be more aligned through like the sense of purpose and passion that you have. But that's what I would recommend.
It's an awesome one.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's two awesome stuff to take out of it. Again, I just think feedback, right? Like I just want to hear people's opinions and thoughts on it. I'd love to see it. I haven't seen it too much in terms of like comments in YouTube or anything, but we have received it personally, so that's cool. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, his stuff is in the description. Mine's also in the description, so check everything out. As I mentioned again, all the YouTube videos that I will be doing will be on my main channel, and Instagram videos will be on my Instagram channel. So if you haven't followed my Instagram, follow it just to have a see of like, if you don't want to see the long form, you might be able to just see the shorter forms of it, right? So thank you all so much. Appreciate it. Hope you have a lovely week, and thank you.
Thanks.